Good morning. How is everyone? Everybody have a good 4th of July? What? It was noisy. Somebody asked me this morning how I was feeling, and I said, I'm just tired. I went to bed like at 9:30 last night, only to try to go to sleep to the sound of fireworks. I don't know what time they quit, but do what? Thank you, sir. If you have your Bibles or New Testaments with you this morning, I'm going to invite you to turn to the book of Galatians. Galatians is a book that deals a lot with freedom. It deals a lot with the law. It deals with living according to the flesh and living according to the Spirit. And Galatians chapter 5, verse 1 begins. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. Skipping down to verse 13 in that same chapter, we find these words. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free. But do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. For the entire law is fulfilled in keeping this one commandment. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you bite and devour each other, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. Yesterday, we celebrated 250 years of what is often called an extremely young and extremely fragile experiment, American experiment, with the constitutional republic. And history tells us that the prospect of religious persecution by the authorities of the Crown and the Church of England prompted a number of colonization efforts. In fact, the Pilgrims were separatist Puritans who had fled persecution in England by first going to the Netherlands and then ultimately over the following 20 years, people fleeing King Charles I settled most of New England. However, the Providence of Maryland was founded in part to be a safe haven for Roman Catholics. That's how we all began to come over here. And as I reflected on 250 years, which, by the way, is a very small sampling of the strength of a civilization. But as I reflected on 250 years, I thought to myself, perhaps there is nothing more symbolic of our Declaration of Independence in 1776. There's nothing more symbolic of our freedom as a nation than Lady Liberty, who stands on our eastern shore. She stands there as a beacon of hope for those who are seeking refuge, for those who are seeking justice, for those who are seeking a better life. And above her head, in her right hand, She holds a torch, lighting the way. In her left hand, she holds a tablet with the inscription, July the 4th, 1776. Most of us are aware of that. What you may not be aware of is that with her left foot, she steps on a broken chain and shackle, which commemorates the national abolition of slavery following the Civil War. There's a plaque at the entrance of Lady Liberty. There's a sonnet written on it by Emma Lazarus in 1883 entitled The New Colossus. It ends with these words that are probably familiar to most of us. Quote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." End quote. I remember as a child, on a trip back east, our parents took us, my sister and I, to New York City, and I remember visiting the Statue of Liberty. I remember climbing that spiral staircase inside the Statue of Liberty. I remember that it was a part of what made us as a country. 1776, July 4th, Declaration of Independence. You gone back and read it lately? The Declaration of Independence reminds all of us that, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The words that catch my attention when I read that is are self-evident that all men, of course, people, are created equal. As I read those words and reflect on it, I'm thinking, there have probably been times in our 250 years when we've been a little better at that than at other times. But it nevertheless sets forth an ideal. That is to be the ideal. Likewise, our Constitution reminds us that we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Again, we have these ideals. On this day following the celebration of our nation's birth, we gather to worship, to acknowledge the significance of this occasion as a time not only of celebration, but also as a time of reflection. Because it allows us to commemorate a nation founded on principles of freedom, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. Listen again to what Paul says in Galatians chapter 5, verse 13, where he reminds us that you, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh. Rather, serve one another humbly in love. There's an ideal. They're words meant to guide us as you and I seek to understand the true essence of liberty, the true essence of freedom, the true essence of what it means to be a nation unified. I want to talk about those three ideas very briefly. Number one, let's talk about unity. This year, as we celebrate our 250th year as a nation, it seems to me at least to be a time when our differences in opinion seem to divide us more than ever. More than ever. It's a time when we need to highlight the diverse perspectives within not only our congregation, but within our nation. And recognize the importance of finding common ground. I had a professor once on a class in faith and government, faith and politics in seminary, who said, as Christians, our responsibility is to see to the common good. Our responsibility as Christians is not to see that I get what I want. It's not to see that you get what you want. It's to seek the common good for all people. All people. You see, unity goes beyond simply agreeing. It's about embracing our shared values and recognizing our collective strength. Our collective strength lies less in our ability to come together despite of our differences. When we prioritize unity, we're then able to promote a stronger and a more prosperous nation. And all you have to do is go back and look at American history. If you ever took a class in American history. Because throughout history we find inspiring examples of Americans who set aside their differences and united for a common cause. From the civil rights movement to the fight for women's suffrage in order that you ladies might be able to vote. In those two movements alone, we see the power of unity in transforming society and advancing justice. And those historical moments should provide each of us on this 250th anniversary. Progress is possible when we're willing to bridge the divides and work toward a shared vision of equality and freedom. Even in the face of significant challenges, Americans have demonstrated this unwavering commitment to unity, driven by the simple belief that we are stronger as one than as individuals. And as we consider the importance of unity, we have to remember it doesn't require that we abandon our individual beliefs or compromise our values. Unity invites us to seek understanding, empathy, and respect for each other and for one another. In other words, it's an invitation to engage in meaningful conversations, to be willing to listen with open hearts and open minds, and to find commonalities that unite us in our pursuit of a more perfect union. Second, I want to talk about is liberty or freedom. Cherishing our individual rights and freedoms. Because you see, building upon the foundation of unity, we need to delve into the significance of individual liberty, which stands as a core American value. You see, liberty encompasses the freedom to express ourselves. It encompasses the freedom to worship according to our beliefs, to pursue our dreams, to pursue our aspirations. It's a gift that we have to value, have to cherish, have to protect. I mentioned earlier a class that I had taken in seminary regarding government and politics. That class was taught by a pastor who has spent many, many years working for the Baptist Joint Committee on Public Affairs. For those of you who need a little bit of updating on Baptist history, there was a time in which Southern Baptists, especially, believed in the separation of church and state. I had the great privilege of being a friend of Dr. James Dunn, who for years and years and years and years was the executive director of the Baptist Joint Committee on Public Affairs. And the conversations with him and with the professor who taught my class at Southwestern, their saying was always this: freedom of religion means freedom from religion. It's driving at that separation of church and state, which is so important. Southern Baptists, they've kind of gone a separate way now. But what I would say is this, that throughout history, the principles of liberty have evolved as we have strived to extend rights to all individuals who've been created equal, regardless of race, education, regardless of socioeconomic background. We recognize that the struggle for equal rights and the full realization of liberty is something that is ongoing. It's ongoing. And we have to be vigilant. We have to remain vigilant, or it's going to come back and haunt us. We have to be committed to creating a society where everyone, again, all people, can enjoy the same freedoms without discrimination and without prejudice. So as we celebrated Independence Day, perhaps, hopefully, we chose to take some time to simply reflect upon the freedoms that you and I enjoy, and the responsibilities that come with those freedoms. You see, freedom's not just about the individual. It's about the collective well-being of a society or of a nation or of a church. And the exercise of freedom is something that should continuously be guided by compassion, guided by a sense of social responsibility, be guided by doing that which lends itself to the common good. We need to consider how our actions are impacting others, and we need to strive to use our freedoms to uplift and to benefit fellow citizens. Because in doing so, you and I contribute to the greater good. And beyond that, we foster an environment where liberty is not just simply some personal privilege, but rather it is a shared value that belongs to all of us together. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about the American spirit. One of embracing diversity and resilience. You see, the words of Galatians 5:13 reminds us that true freedom is not merely about indulging ourselves in what we like or what we want. But true freedom is about serving one another humbly in love. Principle that calls upon you and I to celebrate this rich tapestry of the American people, recognizing that our strength comes from our different cultures, our different backgrounds, our different perspectives. Listen, this country from its very founding has always been a land of immigrants. It's been a melting pot of diverse identities and experiences. And here's the thing. Diversity is not a weakness. Diversity is a tremendous source of strength. Because by embracing and valuing our differences, we can foster a society, a church, a nation where everyone feels seen, where everyone feels heard and valued. And when you and I appreciate the contributions of individuals from all walks of life, we tap into a wellspring of resilience, determination, and innovation that defines who we are as a country. But simply embracing diversity is not something that is passive. To embrace it, you have to be willing to be an active participant. You have to have a commitment to empathy. You have to have a commitment to understanding. On our 250th birthday as a nation, we're challenged to reflect on how we can improve our communities and how we can improve this nation. As I said earlier, a constitutional republic of which the United States has set forth, we're very, very young. And it's very, very fragile. If we want to improve our communities, we want to improve our nation, it may involve stepping out of our comfort zones. It may involve engaging in conversations. It may involve building bridges of understanding as opposed to walls of division. Because by actively seeking to create an inclusive and an equitable society, we can ensure that that American spirit shines even brighter. I must tell you that I have reached the age where I worry about our world. Because what I tend to see and hear so often is about me, myself, and I. What I like, what I want, what I need. Unity calls us to find common ground and to celebrate the strength of our diversity. Liberty reminds us to cherish our rights and to cherish our freedoms, while responsibly using those things to benefit not ourselves, but those around us. And the American spirit, well, that encompasses resilience. It encompasses determination. It encompasses a commitment to embracing the differences of who we are. One other verse that I went back and read this past week. It's a familiar one. No need to even look it up. You learned it as a child. John 3:16. For God so loved the world. And I got to thinking about how diverse that world is. I got to thinking about a song that we used to sing as a child. Jesus loves the little children. All the children of the world. Listen, folks. We're set free. Truly free. Because of God's love for each and every one of us. We are set free, truly free, because of Jesus' obedience to His Father's wishes. I want us to close here just a moment with prayer. And we're going to begin that closure with a moment of silence that will allow you to reflect upon what being a citizen of this country truly means with regard to your faith. And then I will lead us in a prayer. And I will ask you at that point to also offer a prayer. A prayer lifting up the leaders of this nation, to lift up this ongoing pursuit of a more perfect union. A prayer that we might find great strength in our shared values, that we might find compassion for one another, and that we might find the wisdom to navigate the challenges that lie ahead. Because if nothing else, the celebration of our independence should remind each and every one of us of our interconnectedness and our collective responsibility, that we might build a better future for all who are created equal.